former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Thanks so much for joining us,
Thank you, Jake.
former Prime Minister Bennett. The War Cabinet and Netanyahu himself approved this proposal before Biden laid it out, according to CNN analyst and Axios reporter Barak Ravid. Do you think ultimately Netanyahu will listen to Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich on the right side, the right flank of his government, over his War Cabinet that wants this deal?
I don't know. I have to say I don't think there's a real deal on the table, in the sense that Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, they're holding 120 hostages, of which 41 we know are dead or have been murdered by Hamas. And I believe that he's playing a tactic, a cat-and-mouse tactic here. He won't really release a lot of the hostages. He'll try and prolong this war because that's his strategy, to exhaust Israel. It's also Iran's strategy. And I think the only way for us to really get a deal, a real deal on the table, is to increase the pressure on Sinwar by pressing up and pushing up the effort in Rafah.
You think there needs to be more done in Rafah? I thought that the IDF had concluded major operations in Rafah were concluded.
No, they're not. Even just a few minutes ago, I spoke to soldiers from Rafah. We need to act much quicker. This whole war is going on way too long. It could have been. We could have done Rafah 3-4 months ago. I think a combination of poor execution of the Israeli government and the administration's constant, American administration's constant slowing down Israel, coupled together, made for a very slow and prolonged war. This is not good. We should get it done with sooner.
Do you believe that Netanyahu is prolonging this war to stay in power, as President Biden seems to suggest is possible?
I truly hope that that's not the case, that he's not injecting political, personal considerations. I would hope that that's not the case. Factually, it is being conducted, the war is being conducted way, way too slowly.
So you hope it's not the case, but do you suspect it is?
Again, I am not in the brain of Mr. Netanyahu, and all I can look at is at the actions. I can say that wars are won with decisive continuity. You can't turn on and off the switch. I was a fighter for many years. That's not how you win a war. If you punch your opponent and he's wobbling, you have to zero in and punch him again. You don't give him a month off to recuperate and come back strong again. And that's exactly what's happening. It needs to stop. We need to increase the pressure on Yahya Sinwar so we can release the hostages and win the war.
In the Time magazine interview, President Biden refused to answer when the interviewer asked him what he would do now that, quote, Netanyahu appears to have crossed your red line, as the interviewer put it. But today the U.S. agreed to give Israel another batch of U.S.-made stealth F-35 fighter jets. Does Israel still believe Biden's threats to withhold U.S. support if red lines are crossed? Or does the government of Israel, does Netanyahu not think that Biden's threats along those lines are ever serious?
We deeply respect President Biden and his administration and the friendship of the United States of America. We don't take it for granted at all. Regarding Rafah, there was a debate, and we were told that there's no way to move 1 million civilians away from harm's way. Yet we did it, and it didn't take 3 months as was suggested. It took about a week and a half. So I think we have the abilities to do what we need to do. I want to point out, Jake, that we have sealed the border between Egypt and Gaza, which means that from about 7 days ago, Hamas cannot refill its ammo, which means time is running out for them. And if we just follow through rapidly, decisively, I think we can conclude this faster than expected.
The countries of Spain, Norway, and Ireland have all recognized a state of Palestine in recent weeks. Slovenia might be next. The country of Colombia broke diplomatic ties with Israel. Brazil recalled its ambassador. Is the war in Gaza doing long-term strategic damage to the state of Israel?
First of all, we are paying international price for this, but we have really no choice. We're fighting for our lives, and any other country would do it. So there's a double standard being applied on Israel. We're trying to conduct the most just war in history, trying to do it as cautiously as possible. And everyone in the world is double guessing and telling us how to do it and how they would do it better, but they're not in our shoes. And we have to defend our citizens first. Regarding the recognition of a Palestinian state, you know, if you say a tree is a duck, it doesn't turn the tree into a duck. A state has three main conditions: defined territory, which the Palestinians don't have; government that effectively controls the people, which does not exist; and sovereignty, which does not exist. So this is more a symbolic gesture. There's no Palestinian state. But more importantly, I want to say, the Israeli public, who supported a two-state solution until a few years ago, now has moved to oppose it, not because we're 10 million imbeciles, we don't understand anything. The whole world knows what's right for Israel, just we don't. There's a reason, because twice we gave him a Palestinian state, once in the West Bank and once in Gaza, and twice that very Palestinian state blew up on us and killed thousands of Israelis. So something is wrong, that this Palestinian state approach has not worked. And we're looking at reality as it is, not as the world wants it to be.
In just 4 days, Netanyahu's rival in the war cabinet, Benny Gantz, says he's going to leave the war cabinet. He's going to pull his party from the government if the cabinet cannot agree on a comprehensive plan for the war against Hamas and a plan for the day after. What will the ramifications be politically if Benny Gantz leaves the war cabinet?
Well, it's meaningful because Benny Gantz provides the other side of this unity government. So it's a left and right government, bipartisan. The moment he pulls out, it'll be a one-sided government, which has less legitimacy domestically and internationally. So certainly it's not going to provide Israel more freedom of action.
All right, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jake.